I'm Dr. Joe Vitale, and you're watching Zero Limits Living. And I have a question. Do you have a seatbelt? Because if you do, I think you need to strap it on. I think you need to strap it on because what we're going to talk about today and the guest that I've brought for you today is going to blow the lid off of your mind. And that's really what Zero Limits is all about. Zero Limits Living is bringing you inspiration and information so that you can lead a life that maybe you've only secretly dreamed about. But this can come true. And my guests will help prove it. So let me ask you a few more questions besides the seatbelt, which I hope you already have buckled up on. What would you do if you're almost homeless? If you're really looking at the possibility of being on the streets, what would you do at this point? Or look at it from another angle. What if you're working for corporate America and you secretly want to leave? You have a dream. You want to be an entrepreneur. You want to be a healer. You want to do something you love. But how do you break free from the trap of being in a job and the promise of a paycheck or a salary or whatever that happens to be? Furthermore, what if you're a woman and you consider that all of the world is pretty much male dominated? How do you break free and make a dent? How do you make your mark in the world with that belief? Or how do you erase the belief? One more question. How do you spontaneously heal? How do you spontaneously transform yourself? Even if you've been watching my show, we air every Friday. I'm bringing you inspiration and information every Friday, and you're watching the show. But maybe you're thinking, that's happening to everybody else. It's not happening to me. What do you do? How do you spontaneously transform yourself? All of these questions are going to be answered on this episode because I have a powerhouse of a woman. I have a longtime friend of mine. We've done a lot of things together. I don't even know if she remembers. We went to a movie premiere together. I think the movie was The Compass. When people were talking about me having a TV show in Hollywood a long time ago, and they had a bunch of big shots there, and they had an after-hours party and all that, she went with me for that. And she's been rooting for me and been in my corner, and I've been in hers. But I never actually sat down and interviewed her. I never actually sat down and picked her brains and got her story. We're doing all of that today. So first of all, let me give you a quick bio. You already ought to be drooling and going, oh, tell me who she is. This is Jennifer Mclean. She's an internationally acclaimed healer, author, speaker, edge pusher, and transformational change agent. She's the creator of the global phenomenon and healing accelerant, the spontaneous transformation technique. And believe me, we're going to talk about that. The spontaneous transformation technique. This has gone on to influence so many people. There's thousands of practitioners at this point. Jennifer has been on Fox, ABC, CBS, online summits, covered in renowned media opportunities and publications. Her healing philosophy has been described in 5 different books, best-selling books. She also has one of the longest-running, most successful online programs called Healing with the Masters. It's reached millions of people. And I think she's done 17 seasons of this. This woman is plowing through life, living her dream, following inspiration, and helping untold numbers of people. So buckle up and welcome Jennifer. Jennifer, how are you?
Oh my gosh. Wow. That was quite an introduction.
That's all you. It's all you.
I'm exhausted.
Nothing's made up here. All I'm doing is saying this is what this woman has done. How are you doing?
It is such a delight being here, Joe Vitale. I actually, I omitted it from my bio, but what I usually include in my bio is discovered by Joe Vitale. Because
really?
You discovered me. There's no question. I was a huge fan of yours, and I'm gonna get clumped here. Wow. You helped me so much to change my beliefs, to move into zero limits. You really were a foundation for me for that. And we started a correspondence, and just in my gratitude, we started a correspondence. And then I did a little bit of healing work with you. You might not remember that. And then you invited me to be in your book, The Key.
Yes.
And that started everything. That started it all. It wasn't only that it was profound and amazing, but it was also because someone of your stature and someone who I believed in so profoundly believed in me, which helped me to inform a new set of beliefs about myself. So huge gratitude, my friend. Huge gratitude. And I forgot about the compass. I forgot that we went to that thing together. That was so fun.
We were on the red carpet together and we went to see the Compass there. I remember it very well. Well, first of all, you got me all choked up. So what a great way to begin here. You hit me right in the heart. So well, first of all, thank you. Thank you for the acknowledgement. Yes. You know what I tell people that credit a lot of their success to something they learned from me? I tell them, you did it. You did it. A lot of people just read the books. A lot of people just hear the events. A lot of people just watch the TV show, but they don't actually go out and do something. You went out and did something, and that's the turning point. And you get all the credit for that. Wherever the inspiration came from, you picked up the baton, you ran, you are still running and doing fantastic stuff. So I'm very curious about a few things. I didn't know that you were almost homeless at one point, or homeless. I don't know which it was. What was going on?
I was 10 days away from living in my car. I had been in corporate America for many, many years. Was seriously burnt out, quit cold turkey to become an Aflac insurance salesman. Nothing wrong with Aflac insurance salesman. It was just not my jam. I got my license and I sold Aflac for 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh my God, I cannot do this. This is just not what I was meant to do. But one of my things is I have to have somewhere to land. So that's the only way I could do corporate America, was to say I was going to be an Aflac insurance salesman. So I stopped doing that. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to dabble in online marketing. And that's in part where I met you, is when I started dabbling. And I helped a friend with a product that and we were going to make millions. And I made $327.47.
Right.
I had put all my eggs in that basket. And there I was, zero income, nothing coming in, no prospects. And I was broke as broke could be. And suddenly I found myself a couple months later where I hadn't even left my apartment because I couldn't. And I opened the door just to look at the sunset, and there was an eviction notice on my door that I didn't know was there. And so that was a 2-week eviction notice. Now it was 10 days away. And I'm like, and it was like, oh my God. But as you know, as I learned from you, I actually remembered your story in that moment. And I also, I went, it forces us to surrender. There's nothing else to do. And I went deep inside myself, and I'm like, what the hell? I worked my ass off. I worked so hard in corporate America, and I did fairly well, but I never quite broke through that glass ceiling. Mm-hmm. And I had worked all my life, and here I was, 40 something years old, and I was about to be homeless. I was about to live in my car, and
I got chills hearing about this. I'm there with you.
Yeah.
10 days out, eviction notice on the door. I'm feeling it. Holy shit. I mean, what did you end up?
So I went inside. I was a healer at the time. I had many, many practices for how to manage through life. I had not needed to apply them as much as I had in that moment. And I went inward. I asked, what the hell? And I heard a voice. I subsequently call this an attunement. It was my first attunement, and it was the attunement of my power. And I went in, and I'm like, what? That's the mind. That's the mind saying, what, how, why, what, how, why? And the mind doing that takes us off our guard. When we move into a moment of surrender, we've moved beyond the mind, below the mind, into the interior of our being, into our connection to soul. And we get to then really hear our divine inspiration. And this voice said to me, Jen, you have been seeking outside of you your whole life. You've been seeking that proverbial brass ring, right? Which is, when you get the brass ring, then I'll be happy. Then I'll be successful. It's out there. It's out there. And they said, what you have forgotten is that you are the brass ring. You are that which you are seeking. You are all of it. And it was, it might sound a little esoteric right now, but in that moment, I got it. And what I felt was this surge of power and this surge of confidence and this surge of, wow, I'm actually what I've been seeking. I'm it. And it changed everything. It changed my beliefs. It changed my infrastructure of beliefs in a way. And while I was still scared of the eviction, I started to take some new actions. And so I was at the time going to the Church of Religious Science, and there was a lady there that was very, very wealthy. And I used all my skills in corporate America and presenting and in sales. And I approached her and I said, I need a loan. And here's what I'm planning on doing. I'm planning on creating a healing practice. And I'm planning on using my skills as a marketer and a brand strategist in corporate America to start my business, but I need some help to start. And I did this huge PowerPoint presentation to her, and she lent me $3,000.
Wow. Wow. There's so many things I'm curious about here. First of all, I'm relieved that you got through that.
Yeah, me too.
I was in the moment with you going, oh, what do we do? What do we do in this moment? So you heard a voice. Now, you're the second guest most recently who said something similar. Mm-hmm. And I know that I'm kind of role playing what I think my viewers would be asking right now. And that is, how do they hear a voice too? If they are struggling, whether it's an eviction notice or they're unhappy in the relationship or they're just struggling in some way, shape, or form, and they're in their mind, which is going to drive them crazy. The monkey mind will just chase us up trees forever.
Yes.
What would you suggest they do to start to open to hear that voice or to actually hear the voice?
It's interesting, Joe. About a year ago, the voice gave me a protocol.
Oh, interesting.
So it gives me all kinds of information, and it gave me the spontaneous transformation technique, and which is part of the answer. But it's called the soul power formula, and the idea here is to actually connect to your soul. That's the answer. How do you hear the voice? You connect to your soul. How do you connect to your soul? Well, what I've discovered through 30 years as a healer and then working with literally hundreds of thousands of people now and helping them with this very question is to use your life and use your upsets. Use them. And instead of spiraling down into, oh my God, this is here again. I can't believe, why can't I do this? Why isn't it happening? Why do I procrastinate? Why am I stuck? Why? All of those things, none of those things are actually real, but our mind labels it so that we can be comfortable in the discomfort. Mm-hmm. So the opportunity is to actually use it now as a point of access and say, whoa, I really have this belief that I'm stuck. Notice that. First of all, notice it. Wow, I have a belief that I'm stuck. Not I'm stuck, but I have a belief that I'm stuck.
Oh, that's a very good distinction.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay.
And then feel your feelings. That's one of the soul power formula is actually feel the upset. Because we don't give ourselves permission to feel. When we were kids, we weren't allowed to feel. Step one is just feel your actual feelings. So what does that look like? My default is anger. So my default is, boy, I feel really angry right now. And you can see I'm not raging and I'm not throwing things. I'm just really noticing it and allowing it. And so, if you're with a little kid in a store, a 3-year-old, and they want a candy bar and you're not going to let them have a candy bar, they get really upset. And if you just let them hold space for them to be upset and say, yes, I understand you're upset and you're still not getting a candy bar. In about 90 seconds to 3 minutes, they feel their feelings. It's over. We could do the same thing now. Feel your feelings. It doesn't honestly, when you actually allow yourself to feel, the repression takes so much energy, and we've been doing it all our lives. But if you just give yourself the space to feel, you feel your feelings, and within about 3 minutes, there's a completion there. Step 2 is there's a really good reason why you're feeling that way. And it had something to do with what happened to you between ages 1 and 8.
Yeah.
We made conclusions and we made conclusions about who we are and what life is between 1 and 8 years old. We created beliefs at that age that are still running things in the subconscious. You know this from Ho'oponopono, right? Yes. So that's all fueling the reaction we're having to life now. So now step 2 is just know, hey, there's a good reason. Stop judging yourself. There's a good reason you're feeling that. Feel it. There's a good reason you're feeling it. And it allows our mind to kind of separate and stop the judgment. And then step 3 is change it. And how do you change it? Spontaneous transformation technique. EFT, Ho'oponopono, and I use what I call the what if technique that really helps to change things in the moment. Do you mind if I share that just quickly?
I don't mind at all. I had Mindy Audlin on talking about the what if up technique. I don't know if it's the same one you're going to get to.
I'm not familiar with her, but it might be.
Oh, okay.
Here's the other thing I know, Joe, is that there are so many healers and transformational change agents that have the exact same information.
Right.
So,
right.
And there's a reason for that. It's important information that came through a lot of people, and they're all pursuing it because we have a couple of billion people to reach. We're all taking little corners of the planet.
Right. Well, this is appropriate and timely. Tell us about the what if.
Okay. So the what if technique is you what if it into its opposite. Yeah. So, boy, I'm really angry. What's the opposite of anger for me in this moment? So you're feeling something. What's the opposite of it? Well, for me in that moment, it would be peace. So what if, and you actually say in an energy of pretend and play and fantasy, absolute pure fantasy, what if I were able to be in pure, absolute peace? What if I could actually do that? What might that feel like if I could? What if I could actually be in peace? And your audience can maybe play along with me. Anything that you want to what if it to its opposite. What if I could feel secure? What if I could be at peace? What if I could find calm? What if I could be love? What if I could be money? What if I could be joy? What if I could be happy? What if I could actually, though, be it? And the mind's going to give you all kinds of reasons why you're not. You can notice that, but just keep the mind on the periphery and just move into the energy of it. What if I could actually be peace? What if that were true? I don't know if you can feel this, but the energy is already starting to shift just for everyone as they just consider it. And so what we're actually doing there is we're creating a new neural pathway of a template of a frequency that we just didn't have. For some of us, when we what if something, we're creating something we've never had before, like security, for example. Some people have actually never really experienced security in their whole lives. But if we say, what if I actually could, we're kind of detouring around the mind's obstacles, the mind giving evidence of no, and moving straight to an energy, which is actually a frequency and a vibration of something that creates a new neural template that we can then create a new life from, because that now starts to be the belief. So we move into what if I were peace? And then you start to say, you describe it then. What does peace feel like? And then as you feel it, what you pay attention to expands. You said that in The Secret, right? So what if I'm getting chills. It's such a full circle moment here. It's so cool. What if I were in peace, and what's that feel like? Oh, wow, it feels really good. And you're paying attention to it. It's expanding. We're breathing into that description. And suddenly we're no longer in what if, we're actually in the energy, and we've created something that we can now believe in, that we can now can stand in. And then the next thing is to notice that as we're in that energy, we are now connected to our soul. That's step 4. Notice the connection and the bandwidth just opened. And now the impulses come in, the inspirations come in, the voice comes in. Some people don't hear a voice, they get a sensation. People are clairaudient, clairvoyant, etc. So now, but there's an opening now for us to receive this information. And as we move more and more into these new neural pathways that we're creating for self, peace and calm and love and money, etc., we are now opening more and more and more the bandwidth. And then we start to trust what's coming in. And then our whole belief structure is shifted. And then we create a rippling effect that goes out into the world that really genuinely changes our circumstances. We stand in a new vibration, and the people around us, they have to respond to that. Yeah. They have to respond to the new vibration. As we stand in the new vibration, the old vibration just doesn't have space anymore. Right. And so there's not a match anymore to some of the discord in our life and conflict.
I love it. I love it. How long do you think that process takes, in case people are sitting there going, well, how long?
Soul power formula?
Yeah.
It's spontaneous, Joe.
I love this. Throw our watches away. It's spontaneous. We don't need to time anything.
Yeah, it's actually really fast. And I think, this is a little bit woo-woo, but part of the reason I think it's so fast is because the energy of the planet has shifted. There's new energies coming in. Part of the reason that's happened is because there's so many more of us that are watching shows like this and starting to reconsider things. And the pandemic forced us to reconsider a lot of things. And there's an opening here that just imagine if there were, I've heard that if 10% of the planet really genuinely deeply embraced this, not just manifesting to get a car or something, but genuinely believed in love, which is what really we're talking about, in the energy of love and the vibration of love and the possibility, the potentiality of all of us. If 10% of us did that, they say it's like that one grain of sand that causes the collapse of the mountain, right? It is that's the grain of sand that can actually change everything. And then our whole infrastructure shifts on the whole planet.
So I have a question for you, and this is because some people have asked me something similar. If somebody has been struggling and in their mind, they don't really have a touchstone to something like prosperity, and we tell them, oh, just imagine you're prosperous, and they're sitting there going, I've never been prosperous. Or we invite them to go, just play with what if you were prosperous, and get into that feeling, and they're sitting there going, but I have no experience with prosperity. What would you advise them, whether it is prosperity or it is spirituality or it is some sort of item that they want to attract, but they're feeling disconnected because personally they don't have the experience of already having it?
Yeah. So it really is about, it seems like it's hard, but it's actually simple because we are beings of prosperity. We are prosperity. That's our divine nature. That's our birthright. What's happening is that you're having an internal argument with your mind. So what's happened for many of us is we have vacated the place where our mind can be calm. We vacated what I call our conscious heart. And so as a result, the mind has been forced to take on a task and a skill set it wasn't designed to. The mind is the ultimate manifester. Thoughts create things, right? That was from the 30s. Thoughts create things. You taught that to me.
Right.
And it's true. So the thoughts are incredibly powerful. And so when we are not able to be connected to that conscious heart, which is connected to our soul, the mind's out there all on its own. And what the mind defaults to is what's wrong, what's bad, judgment, blame, righteous indignation, victimhood. That's the default. And it has a really good reason for defaulting to that. It's because it's disconnected to soul. So how do I feel prosperous? The biggest thing is to start by noticing your beliefs. How do you notice your beliefs? Well, what do you say to yourself every day? I say, boy, I can't afford that. I can't afford that. I can't afford that. How come they get that? How come they're successful? I'm as good as they are, right? Notice. Move into a slightly different state. I call it the observer, and start by noticing, because what you're going to notice are the beliefs that are creating your life and your reality. When you notice that you have these beliefs, that's the moment that puts you into choice. And choice is freedom. Freedom, why are we not free? Because we don't think we have a choice. How do we become free? We move into a life and a world where we decide we have a choice. So now you get to choose the belief. And for me personally, what I would do is, what if I were actually prosperous? What might that feel like? I know that's not true. I know that there's no circumstances in my life that have given me any evidence of that. I know that my parents didn't model that for me. I know all that's true. And yet, what if right now I could play and pretend and just play in the energy of prosperity? What if I could be prosperous? What might that feel like if I could? So so it's just a longer process of what if. However, the foundation of that what if game is now on an energy of, I have a whole bunch of beliefs that I've noticed over the last week that are pointing to lack and limitation. I'm noticing all that. That noticing gives you power. Because now you could say, I'm going to choose something different. Okay, so one more thing, affirmations. Affirmations are fabulous. I do them a little bit differently than most people. I had a very strong bind in disagreeing with me. I fought hard for my limitations. And so what I use affirmations for now, knowing that that's, again, noticing that's my pattern. I use affirmations is, I am wealthy beyond measure. And then I can immediately notice my mind saying, no, you're not. No, you're not. You have bills. You have this. You drive enough money. You have enough savings. I can hear. That's what my mind sounds like, by the way. And so in that moment, I notice the dissonance, and I use that as a revelation revealing the beliefs. And then I use the spontaneous transformation technique, Ho'oponopono, EFT, etc., or the what if game in that moment to address that. And so it is a daily practice. Every day I am using an affirmation to notice the dissonance, using it to see where my mind is saying, no, you don't. Because that mind is what's creating everything in my world. So if my mind is disagreeing, guess what it's doing?
I had lunch with a friend one time, this was years ago, and we were talking about affirmations, and she just shrugged and she said, I tried them. Affirmations don't work for me. And I paused for a moment and I realized that what she just said was an affirmation.
Yep.
So I pointed it out.
There's your belief.
Saying, by the way, they are working for you. When you say affirmations don't work for me, you are affirming that affirmations don't work for you, which means that affirmations are working, but you are blind to it because you have the affirmation that they don't work.
Absolutely.
It's kind of twisted.
It's twisted, but that's such a great example of noticing.
Yes.
It's such a perfect example of noticing.
Well, so you know what?
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm so excited to talk to you. I want to sit at your feet and just have you just keep going for hours because I got this sense that you have so much information and you have so much inspiration and you have so much experience. You were doing healing with the masters, I think, and I think you're still doing it. And you've done 17 seasons. And I'm thinking to myself, you must have an encyclopedia in your brain of all these different healing techniques and healing modalities. And it makes me curious to think, what are the one or two that stand out? I know you mentioned EFT, and for my viewers, we'll talk about that in another episode. It's a tapping technique. And you mentioned Ho'oponopono, which I've not explained to my viewers yet. We'll do that in another episode. It's a Hawaiian healing technique. And you have your own spontaneous technique I want to hear about. But before we get to that, were there a couple standouts that you really went, wow, 17 seasons of talking to healers, what really rattled and stayed with you?
I think there were a few standout speakers, and cranial sacral therapy was the standout system of healing. It's actually where I started in my healing practice. I started as a healer in my late 20s doing cranial sacral therapy. And so that stood out. Peter Levine and his work on trauma was a huge standout. I actually developed the spontaneous transformation technique in part from his work. Neil Donald Walsh, when Neil talks about do for others what you want, that was huge. That was just a huge, I'm constantly remembering that. If you want a house, work for Habitat for Humanity. It was just a perfect example of that. If you want something, give it to another. And of course, Wayne Dyer, Marianne Williamson, when she said, the energy of willingness can change your life. Moving from an energy of stalwart, no, I know better than, or any of that, and move instead into willingness. I am willing to open myself to the possibility of prosperity or whatever it is, or I'm willing to see another person's point of view. That was a huge standout from Marianne. And, Wayne Dyer's analogy about the orange, compression squeezes the best out of us.
Okay.
I've since Healing with the Masters is actually on hiatus. However, I do have my Masterworks Healing membership site, which took over. And I now 100% focus my time on getting my own work out there. But it was a really amazing experience doing it for 17 seasons.
Oh, I feel it. And just the highlight role, the reels that you just gave us were breathtaking. There's a lot of juice and wisdom right in that. So tell me, how did you come up with this spontaneous transformation technique? What led to that moment? And of course, tell us, if you don't mind, what it is.
Yeah, sure. The spontaneous transformation technique is 11 steps that allow you to really access the core upsets that happen between 0 and 8 and unwind them in a way that you're not re-traumatized.
Wow.
I had extremely challenging childhood and, narcissism, abuse, and alcoholism. I got the big 3, yay me. And I spent most of my teenage years and 20s and 30s in just trying to recover from it.
Wow.
And I did a lot of healing work. I trained as a healer as a result. The wounded healer thing is real. And I think part of it is that because we can help so many people because we've been through so much. I think that's part of it. And one of the things that I noticed was that I reacted a lot. I took a lot of things personally. I know in hindsight, and I kind of understood then because I was in therapy and I was doing a ton of different healing modalities that it was a coping mechanism. I understood that, but I couldn't stop it. I couldn't stop my absolute immediate reaction. And, this one time, this poor man, he said to me, you really shouldn't drink water before dinner. And I freaking took his head off, right?
That's a hot button. Yeah.
Right? It's like global warming. In my mind, in that moment, it was the same. So, but I noticed those moments a lot. And I'm like, okay. And I did a lot of training in different modalities. I did polarity, craniosacral, Reiki, a couple of other disciplines. And some of them I noticed were re-traumatizing people. I noticed that they would go into the trauma and they got re-traumatized. I didn't know exactly what I was looking at until later. And I studied a little bit with Peter Levine. And I said, I got to do something about this reaction. And so I kind of gathered all the things that I knew and I started doing it on myself. And I started using, Jungian focusing combined with, it's kind of like verbal cranial sacral is kind of what STT is. And I started applying it to myself in the moment of a reaction. And so I would react and I would stop and I would know that reaction is fueled by something that happened in childhood. It's about that, not this. And most of the time I'm overreacting, which is what most reactions are. And so in that moment, I then started to create this little protocol for myself. And I did that for quite a while. I worked on myself and it started to really work. I started to unwind, that's a cranial sacral term, old patterns. And they would be permanent. It would be permanently changed. For a while, I was calling it body dialoguing. And then when I fully, stopped doing Healing with the Masters and focused on STT, spontaneous transformation technique, that's when I really formulated the 11 steps and really started working with lots and lots and lots and lots of people on it. And then I started certifying teachers in it, which is a great way to establish a healing system, is to certify people in it, because when you're teaching it, you see nuances that you didn't see when you're just doing it. Yeah. And so it's 11 steps that allow you to go inside as an observer to the little one that experienced the original upset and trauma, and then express feelings that they couldn't have expressed at that moment without going into the memory, and then creating basically a new neural pathway from that. And then you come out of it feeling really differently about the situation. So it's from reaction, but since then, my students have taught me that you can approach anything in your life. You can go to an old situation, so you don't have to do it just from a reaction. But that's how it started.
So what I'm curious about, and I think other people watching would be curious, can you safely do this on your own?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Do you have like an audio or a narrative or a video or a course or a book that you offer to explain it?
I do.
Okay. Where's the website for it? You might as well tell us.
Okay. I'm going to have to look it up.
While you're looking it up, I'm going to test you and say, Jennifer, you're not supposed to have water before you eat. That's the right response. That's right there.
Oh my God, that was great.
There's proof this works, folks.
There's proof this works. Okay. There's actually an ebook that leads you into a webinar. So get the ebook and then please register for the webinar so you can experience it. And it's called www.spontaneoustransformationhealing.com/ this is a long one, sorry, STT-hidden-ailments. So www.spontaneoustransformationhealing.com/ STT as in spontaneous transformation -hidden-ailments. Sorry, that's so long.
I think our engineer, Nick, might be able to put that on screen by the time this airs.
Okay.
So you've been training people to do this, and how long has that been going on?
Gosh, I think it's been 5 years now. I've got about 1,000 practitioners.
That's fantastic.
Yep. And they're doing great with it. Half of them are therapists, actually. Wow. And they've been finding great results with their peeps and their customers, their clients, and their clients have been accelerating their healing, and their referrals have also improved. So that's exciting.
So let me do something a little bit daring. You and I went to go see the movie, I think it was The Compass, and we were on the red carpet. And I remember being with you then, and I see you now, and there's something different. And that's been quite a while, because I think that was 12 years ago.
It was about 12 years ago, yeah.
It might have been more than that. You seem far more powerful. Not that you were a wimp, but you seem far more powerful. Like there is more of a nuclear reactor energy source that you're tapped into. I can sense it and I can feel it. You've certainly had a lot of experience since I had seen you when we went to the movie premiere, because you did all those healings with the masters and you've done all your work and you've written 5 or so best-selling books and online presence and more. So you've got a lot of experience under your belt. But would you say that you noticed that? Am I correct?
You are absolutely correct. In fact, I have this membership site, Master X Healing membership site. Now, about 30% of the members have been there from the start. And they talk about it. They talk about how much I've changed. Yes. Yeah. If you want to change a lot, teach. Because I get to hear my words in my ear when I'm about to do something that I'm telling people, right? Like, what do you mean I can't drink water before a meal or whatever it is? So yes, Joe, I have changed, I think, dramatically. I have this daily practice of STT. From the childhood that I had, there was a lot that had to be unwound. And so STT, and I do a ton of Ho'opono, by the way, a ton. I do it every single day. And I do an actual, the reason I like Ho'oponopono so much is because it's very similar to STT. I actually created an STT version of Ho'oponopono. I don't know if that's allowed, but I did.
Of course it is.
To use words, because it's a guided process STT that uses words. And so I use words with Ho'oponopono that have really helped me. I even have a karmic version of Ho'oponopono that I do. So I am constantly at this. And I use every moment of upset. Well, not every, I would say 80%, because sometimes I'm still kind of a jerk, but I'm adorable when I'm doing it. That's the difference. And I've just worked through a ton of energy. You know, I had like an Amazon forest of issues. And it's down to a nice normal forest of issues. So yes, I've worked through a ton. It's not just experience. What you're sensing is healing. What you're sensing is someone who has done this noticing peace, connected to my soul peace, felt my feelings peace, use those moments and as a point of access to genuinely unwind the core issues that were there. And when you met me, I was, I talked a good game, but I wasn't living it nearly as much. And I didn't know that until I knew it. And most of us don't. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that I was money first and service second. I didn't know that I was that. I thought I talked all the time how I'm service first, money second, service first, but I talked about it as a judgment.
So let me ask you this. We're in a brand new year. The last couple of years were pretty challenging, probably for everybody on the planet. Do you believe in setting resolutions? And if so, how do you do it? And if you don't set resolutions, do you do intentions or goals or something else?
Yeah, I used to do this process of intentions. But now I've simplified it to what if. I've simplified it to, the first thing is I do a soul song every year. I do sound vibration healing as part of my work. And I do a soul song every year, and it forces me to tap into, from a psychic perspective, what is the vibrational frequency of the year that I then bring into the song, into the sound vibration. So that's part of my process, is tapping into the year. And what I determined for this year is love. Love, 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 love is a huge potentiality for everyone this year. And love is abundance, and love is health, and love is, and all that. So then I play a little what if game for myself. Okay, I do a little numerology. What's my year? I am in a 7 year. What does that mean? Well, 7 is a year of expansion and spirituality and possibility and potentiality. I'm like, okay, that's good. What's the psychic impressions of the year and the frequencies? Okay, that's good. How do I play a what if game with that? So what if my year were one of love? What if I lived the year? What if 2022 looked like love? And then I projected out over month after month what love would do and how love would impact my life and how love would impact things. So I changed quite a bit from goals to intentions to now flow. And what if?
Okay. I accept that. So we're going to run out of time, and I am really irritated because I want to talk to you more. I want to go in even deeper than this. I want to unravel some more things. I want to hear some more information. And yet at the same time, we're being pulled to the side and said, we got to get out of the car. This is where we have to stop. But before we stop, I want to say one or two more things. One is we still got a virus that's going around the planet, and it's still splitting off and doing whatever. And everybody's confused, vaccinated, not vaccinated, wear masks, not wear masks. Nobody knows what's going on with any sort of official diagnostic. What is your take on this, or what is your remedy for this? What should we be doing, in your opinion, during this ongoing pandemic?
Notice what you're believing about it and change your mind.
Notice now give me a break. That's too simple.
I know it is, but it's real. It's like we are so much more powerful than any of it. And when a group of people are getting together in a conscious belief, we're creating it. So how do we uncreate it? We change our mind. So what if I were, listen, I actually just got COVID, and I just tested negative 3 days ago. So I'm at the tail end of COVID. I'm triple vaxxed, and I got the monoclonal antibodies. So I'm a big believer in vaccines. But that's in part because I believe in vaccines. What do you believe in? If you believe in vaccines, great. If you don't want to do a vaccine, I don't necessarily agree with that, but if that's your belief, believe it. Like, go with what you believe in, unless it's harming others. So I believe that this, so what they told me psychically, by the way, is COVID's done, that it's over this year, it's finished. And in part because this Omicron is so contagious that there is going to be herd immunity. And by summer, things will be quite different. By fall, it'll be essentially endemic, and we'll have seasonal COVID. That's what they told me. So that helps my beliefs.
Right.
I believe that. So if all of your viewers will believe that, together, all our beliefs will create something. But if we all believe, oh my God, everyone's going to get it and die, then that's the beliefs that are prominent out there. So change your mind. Yeah. Believe in love, believe in the power of you, believe in the power of medicine, believe in the power of what's possible. And we can change all of it by our communal beliefs right now.
One final question. What is the question you wish I or someone would ask you?
Oh, gosh. Oh, you're going to make me think. Dang it.
And while you're thinking, I'm going to tell my viewers, we've talked about things like Ho'oponopono, which I will explain on another episode. And we talked about tapping and EFT, which I will explain on another episode. So I'm not going to leave you purposely hanging, at least not very long. And Jennifer, do you have an answer? And do you have a website? Do you want them to go to the one you gave earlier, or do you want to go to
Yeah, you can go to that one, or you can also just go to McleanMasterworkscorporate.com. And that's Mclean is spelled clean with an M in front of it. There's only one C. So MCLEAN, masterworkscorporate.com. I don't know, but Joe, I think you asked me everything possible. And the only question that I get all the time is, why can't I? That's the question I get all the time.
Why can't I? You mean people that think they can't do it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
so
what's
why
your
do
answer
people
to
ask,
that?
why can't I? It's because they haven't discovered how powerful they are.
Yeah.
They haven't, and the way to create the evidence of your power is to play in the power that creates the evidence.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. Play in the power of the power that creates the evidence. I like that. What a great note to leave this on. Jennifer, I love you. Thank you for agreeing to do this. Thank you for giving so much information, so openly, so generously. You are really doing great work. You're a light worker, obviously healing everybody you touch. So thank you for this.
Oh, Joe, thank you so much. It's just been a beautiful, amazing full circle moment for me. Really, really, really. My heart is so full right now. Thank you. I love you.
Thank you. And everybody watching, every Friday, I'm going to bring to you information and inspiration to help you live a zero limits life. This show is called Zero Limits Living. And thanks to luxemediastudios and Candace Barr and the tech people, in this case today was Nick, we can bring this to you. And you can watch the show every Friday on Roku, on Amazon TV, on Apple TV, on Amazon Fire, Apple TV, YouTube. And I put up a website to make all this easy. Just go to ZeroLimitsLivingTV.com, ZeroLimitsLivingTV.com. And as I always like to say, expect miracles. Thanks.
Glutathione is a big word. It's the body's own master antioxidant. It's a scavenger for free radicals, bacteria, and viruses. There are no products in the market with the ingredient NASET. NASET increases the production of glutathione that's in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system, elevate sense of well-being, support muscle strength and endurance, cognitive function, and liver support. It helps with increased energy and blood sugar regulation. Get your bottle of GSH Plus from www.salvationnutra.com.